Well, I've just got some more very, very clear connections between the two alias Dick Oakleys, one of whom was my father, and Lord McAlpine. Beautiful. I am going to write a list of all the firms my father worked for, building firms, and their headquarters, and I'm going to take it from there. For now, I have one more. My father worked, as well as having worked for McAlpines, he worked for tailors, and he worked for Wimpy's. Now, all of these firms seem to have amalgamated at some point or another, and in fact, when he said tailors, he meant Taylor Woodrow, because that seems to be Taylors appears to be the same as Taylor Woodrow since 1921. That was based in Watford, which I think I've just worked out as about 11 miles from Hemel Hempstead, bringing me neatly into the Dacorum area where so many of my father's extended family lived and died. The Dacorum registration area. Anyway, I have a 1971 letter from my father, written in Uxbridge. I have him working for Taylor Woodrow. Robin John Stoddart, who apparently is surviving in Melbourne, Australia, openly admits to having lived in Uxbridge and worked for Taylor Woodrow. So I have again there two connections between my father, alias Dick Oakley, and this time Robin John Stoddart. I've tried to say over and over again that Robin John Stoddart was a name shared by a handful of men, all of whom were hitmen. And I am aware that I am still connected on Facebook to the surviving Robin John Stoddart, and I don't think it really matters, because if he wants to put a bullet in my head, I will say thank you very much. You couldn't do it from Melbourne, but of course there are people here. If he's in Melbourne. That connects my father, as I said, Taylor Woodrow, to Robin John Stoddart. There were two Robin John Stoddarts, and the other one died at the hands of a UDA hitman in Southampton. Having appeared at an inquest I attended 2 years previously, and that was the inquest into Fiona Green, at whose death both that Robin John Stoddart and my father, alias Dick Oakley, were present at. So I now also have my father connected to at least two of the Robin Stoddarts. There were never more than a handful, including two immigrants, in the UK in the 20th century. Two of the others are now dead. One of them, who worked for The Guardian, was also very close to a murder. He was the downstairs neighbour of Martin Brooke Warwick, who, if anyone wants to look him up, actually is quite an interesting character. And I think you've only got to look him up to know why he was murdered. And at least in his case, we do know that he was murdered because he was stabbed to death with another Robin John... No John, just another Robin Stoddart living below him. And he'd let his killer in. There's no forced entry. Now, I've been over this until it appears to bore people to tears, but it fascinates me because the Robin Stoddarts were hitmen. They were hitmen. How they came to share the same name is anybody's guess. Clones, at least by name. And perhaps the Robin John Stoddart, who died in Southampton, Perhaps that wasn't even his real name. Perhaps it was a name tagged to him, and he was told, "This is your name. Use it." Because the guy who worked for the Guardian was supposed to have been born in Teesside. Which is the closest, not all that far from Tynemouth. And the Robin Stoddart who died in Southampton was born in Tynemouth, whereas the one who worked for the Guardian was not born in the UK at all. But his obituary says he was. My father and Robin John Stoddart's and more building firms.